chosen to speak through me! Through me! I was chosen!
My name is Cole Mihalich. I'm the writer-director of the movie.
I am Ruben Padilla. Happy to see all of you, and I play Dr. Kurd Schiefler.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian. I was honored to be able to make the music for the film.
Hello, I'm Adam. I am the cinematographer and colorist for Refrain.
Hi, I'm Olaf. I'm the sound supervisor. Post-production sound supervisor for Refrain.
I'm Analise. I was a picture editor for Refrain.
I'm Catie. I was the production designer for Refrain.
Fantastic. I actually feel that we have the most important departments here. We have everybody who made this film not only what it is, but distinctive. And as we go around, I have done a number of SCAD productions, and I'm happy to say that this was my favorite of all of them. I've done over 20 SCAD productions in the last year. And basically it was, SCAD has the resources. A lot of the students don't really appreciate how great they have it. SCAD is one of the top 10 film schools, depending on what list you look at. But, according to like Hollywood Reporter, it's up there. And the resources that you all have in terms of equipment, in terms of the mentorship, the teachers, the facilities, it's unmatched, in my opinion, from any other school, and actually rivals some studios. So to have that type of riches available to you must be, well, you tell me how it was. Analise, I know you did the editing and you're probably sick of seeing this face, but to what extent was the editing something that you found rewarding in doing this project, and what do you feel you brought to it?
Oh, it was so rewarding. This was the biggest project I've ever edited before, so it definitely taught me a lot about patience and like making sure to, even though you're seeing the same footage again and again, but like keep seeing it with kind of like a new perspective. I think I brought some different perspective. Like I obviously wasn't on set, so when I saw the footage for the first time, knowing what the script was and kind of, I had an outsider view. Obviously Cole had in his head what he wanted it to look like, so kind of working with that and kind of with a different perspective, bringing what it could be from what the footage was.
So the editing process, did you find any challenges that you have not found in other productions, or was it pretty, straightforward?
The concert scene specifically was something really new because I had never worked with a scene that so heavily relied on the music and the tempo and the rhythm. Like obviously when you're editing, rhythm is so important, but to this level when like music is such a key part in the story. So I think that was definitely a new challenge, but also exciting, even though at times that concert scene was the bane of my existence.
It was the bane of a lot of our existences for a little while because there were so many moving parts to it. But here we have, many of the moving parts. So it's kind of nice to see you came to it afterward. You weren't on set. So when you were given a big jumble of all these different things, putting it together, are you a senior or did you graduate?
I graduated, yeah.
So this was a pretty great production to go out on, I guess, yes?
Yeah, for sure.
Most short films are what, 12 minutes or less, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think the other ones I edited we ended up cutting down, so they were like around 8 or 9 minutes even.
Are you happy with the final cut, or is there still something that you see and you go, oh, I wish I could have done something with that?
I mean, obviously I'm gonna be more nitpicky because I know like I'm paying attention to all the little things that I'm like, oh, like, but I think overall, like all the real issues we had editing, like Sweatgate and other there's certain lines and deliveries that we just hated. I think we found ways that the audience will never know they were an issue, which
well, I'm guessing Sweatgate refers to me, and I don't know this term, so tell me what Sweatgate was.
In the concert scene there's a moment where, right before the final everything start like right after things go wrong, and then we have this turn and things are finally going right. In between them, you're like not sweating at all, and then the next scene you are dripping with sweat, and it just was not natural at all. And it was jarring when we were in the early stages of editing.
Sweatgate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it worked though. And when I saw this cut, you know, after the embarrassment of, you know, do you guys really want to hear this? Once he turns back around and he gets to that final part, there's a little bit of sweat on him. And then when he's in it, there's obviously a lot. So I think that whatever you did it well, because nobody commented on the inconsistencies of the sweat. Analise talked about this being the biggest production that she had been a part of. I know that you had been focusing on this production for a number of years. Can you take us back to a little bit of the arc of the time period and how it grew to be what it was?
This really story was inspired by a true story that my brother told me about. I was in the car one day. He was telling me about this gig that he had, and I was just dumbfounded at what actually occurred. I mean, it is based on a true conductor, a true to life person. And I was so fascinated to hear about, you know, the comings and goings of this concert, from the emails he got at the beginning, all the way to finding out that he might possibly be a criminal. So later I asked him to tell me it again, and I recorded it in a voice memos, and I just listened back to it, just trying to get a sense of who this guy is. I looked his name up, and then that's where I found the truly interesting thing. He had an outstanding notification from the DEA indicating that there was an ongoing search going on. And I was like, okay, what is this? A conductor being investigated by the DEA? And so with that, I kind of did a lot of research on the man himself, trying to find out as many tidbits as possible. Then I kind of began, you know, trying to find what the theme is, and so began the process of invention to kind of fit that theme. So ultimately, it's a good amount fiction, but a good amount true to life. In fact, some of the things said in the movie are verbatim to what actually happened, whether it be words or situations.
Olaf, you were involved in post-production, so you were not on set very much, right?
No, not at all.
So you were just given, like Analise, this big collection of, what was your thought when you first saw this, and how did you go about contributing to putting this together?
I really like the story. The story was really appealing, and especially it's a very music and sound orientated story. So definitely that was something that, of course, interests me as sound design major. So I really like the idea of the composer and think how things go. Is this perception of this? He's just a normal guy with a dream. So a lot of the sound effects, I plan them to be very like down to earth, really like realistic, if that makes sense. But in the moment that he's in his head, there's a lot of like whooshes, a lot of like different sounds that we don't quite get, which I think is kind of how like our minds sound when we're like thinking of our dreams or ourselves or something that we want to accomplish. So that was kind of my perspective with that side of the sound.
So Brian, speak to the music then. How were you trying to match it to, you know, Tannhauser's Overture in terms of tone, or were you looking at the character and, you know, doing it that way? And did you do all the music yourself, or were you sourcing it out?
Yeah, so I was really looking at it from a perspective of the film, mainly from the characters, and so that's something that developed over time. And there were many cuts of the pieces that did not fit the vision and were actually remade. All the music was made by me, so nothing was sourced out. Besides, you know, I had a violinist play, and I had a piano player play some of the pieces, and some of the pieces I can join my piano playing with his. You know, Cole really made it clear to me once I had sent the first drafts to him or showed him the first drafts of stuff. You know, ultimately he made it very clear to me what we're trying to, what kind of story we're trying to tell here, and I began to understand his vision a lot more clearly, and I'm pretty proud of what we were able to accomplish because this is nothing like I've ever done before.
How was it different?
Well, the first production I made with Cole was more electronic music that I had played and added saxophone to. And the second production I had done was more 70s kind of funk. So very organic in that sense, with horns and guitar, bass, drums, organ, those sort of things. So in this film, it was a totally new thing to be putting piano and violin and various sounds together, for that, um, organic but yet very distinct tone that we're trying to accomplish.
Well, one thing that struck me was that it was very human. It was very human. It was guided by the emotion.
When we had started tracking piano, I wanted to do piano first to get those bass layers. And what had come out of that was beautiful piano playing out of, my friend who had played. However, it was almost a little bit too sincere. It was almost a little bit too bright for the tone that we were trying to go with the film. So that's when, a lot of that was scrapped, and can be used for other things, but a lot of that was scrapped and was filled in with some more, ominous tones. Um, so yeah, but I love, the style that was created out of this, and yeah, I'm very connected to that. So
Music aside, editing aside, Catie, I'm going to talk to you next, and Adam, I'm waiting to ask you a couple questions. Can you, Cole, introduce Catie, because her department is often overlooked and does not get the credit that I think it deserves. So how did that play into you choosing her and her contribution, and then she can tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, Catie, like with a lot of people on this project, I met through friends or I met on other productions, and I was kind of able to see their work ethic, and ultimately, I think I became friends with a lot of these people before they were ever on my project. Ultimately, her job is really everything on screen is her job. Anything that's not, well, even your hair, your clothes, it's really using all the real estate we have on screen to tell a story. So for that, it was setting up chairs, it was the costume, it's the makeup, it's the hair, it's props to, legitimize things. It's all sorts of things to make the story, to make the background tell a story ultimately.
Well, I know, Catie, that hopefully you're getting some of the credit right now, because there is nobody at the end of the film saying, "Oh my gosh," if they notice something that you do, often it means you made a mistake, right?
Yeah, I think the overall goal for most production designers is to go unnoticed and just make it feel like we weren't even there, and it's just like we're just watching the characters, and the goal is to just make it feel like I had to do nothing. So
Right. Can you talk about the biggest challenge? I'm guessing is going to be the actual day of the orchestration, but what was the biggest challenge you found, and what can we look for so that I can say, Catie talked about that moment?
yeah, absolutely. I think some of the most difficult scenes for me were honestly the office scenes in the very beginning of the film, because this is like the one true moment that we kind of like really see Kurd in like his day-to-day life, because he is such like a dramatic character, and like seeing him on stage, it's like of course someone with like that much bravado is going to be on stage. But I think it was really important to me to just kind of like humanize him, but also make him feel like slightly out of place no matter where he was. So like in the doctor's office, like we wanted to make it seem like he just kind of lives there and he just never really leaves unless he's going to rehearsal or something. And so I think like some of like the most difficult scenes for me were just making sure like the office really like looked lived in, and it was like a healthy combination of, yeah, I could come here for my doctor's appointment, but also like this guy has definitely been living here for a period of time. So
Absolutely. Yeah, your invisibility on screen, I think, made it be louder than words. But everything that was visible, you had your fingerprints on. What are you most proud of? Is there a shot or a moment? I know The Office was challenging for you.
I think two of my favorite scenes are the one where you're like sitting at the desk and like the posters of like the orchestrators are like looming above you. I think that's like one of my favorite shots, because like it kind of makes the character feel kind of small, which I think is pretty interesting. And then I think my other favorite scene besides that one is during the actual concert scene where you're conducting and then like you slam the baton or whatever it is on the music stand, and then it like snaps in half. It's like a slow-mo dramatic moment. It's like
I was so proud of that. We can call that baton gate, can't we? We don't know how to do that. Can you talk about the solution, or do you not want to give away that magic secret?
Oh no, I'll give it away. It's just a chopstick that got painted white because the actual batons that we were using throughout were made out of fiberglass. So like there was really no way to like break them in a way that like you could break it, and like there was just like no way to use like the
And they're
fiber.
expensive.
And it's expensive. Yeah. So I just took a couple chopsticks and I painted them white, and then I broke them at like a couple tension points, and then I kind of like shoved them back together. So like they were broken, but they didn't look broken. So that way, like when you slammed it on the thing, it was able to kind of do that flip. But we did have to spend a decent amount of time on that scene to kind of like get like the hit right and get it to break correctly and to like flip through the air like the way we wanted it to. But
It was such a great moment. I've had many people say that that's the image that they remember, and I know how hard we worked on it. I'm happy that I got to be the hand to do it. I mean, that's not always the case. So I'm glad you did mention that, Catie, because it is such a memorable part, I think, of the whole piece. Cole, talk about your relationship with Adam, how you brought him on, because in a film that is so based on sound and on music, the visuals are so strong and the photography is so perfect. I feel so lucky.
Well, Adam, we actually found through one of our co-producers, Charlie Walker, who brought him on just about 2 years ago as well. So we started working out kind of the visual style there, what we were thinking about. And I remember us just being very specific, a lot of back and forth on the coloring, what it would look like, film grain, lenses, the type of lenses. I mean, just kind of what we wanted to emulate and what was some of our favorite things to look at. And ultimately, Adam was the colorist as well, so he really helped inform everything in the post-production process and was our data wrangler and really held a lot of the post-production team together. So him and I worked very carefully. I'd say probably the most time was put into the visuals single-handedly, just because we had so much time together. Like I said, he's been on the project for nearly 2 years.
Yeah. Adam, tell us about how you approached it and something you're proud of. I think you should be proud of the whole thing, but what stands out for you?
Yeah, so I did feel incredibly lucky to find this project so soon, so early in production, because it's very rare in this industry that you have that much time for a short film, especially. So that was very lucky. And it allowed us, me and Cole, to do things that normally you don't get to do. Like we were able to go through the script, I think 2 or 3 times, and just fully break down every single beat of the script and decide how we wanted it to look. And the first thing that I knew right away is that this needed to be shot on a large sensor camera, because a larger sensor would allow you to get a more personal, sort of more subject-centered perspective from the camera, and would kind of isolate the subject a bit more. And that felt appropriate for a character-driven narrative like Refrain. The other thing we discussed was the work of Vittorio Storaro, who's a cinematographer you might know from Apocalypse Now. But specifically, we drew upon the color and the sort of look of The Conformist. And that's sort of the main inspiration for the color grading look of the film.
I'm so proud of the fact that so many people have talked about the visuals. I mean, some of the visuals are just so, from the lighting to just the mood to specific moments. My son's favorite moment was when I'm standing off to the side with my eyes closed and I say, "Doctor," and he said, "When you open your eyes, Adam caught the pupil dilation." And I said, "Really? I don't remember that." And I went back and looked at it, and sure enough, little tiny details like that, I know you were looking for. And there were times when, I was happy with a shot and Cole seemed to be happy. And you were like, "No, we got to do it again." And you knew that there was something either missing or that you wanted to add that I think made all the difference in the world. I'm especially proud of that outdoor shot that we stole when he's just sitting outside in front of the cafe. It's from across the street. It's perfectly framed. You just see this guy in his isolation sitting by himself. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful shot that was.
Yeah, so thank you. So for the shot where his pupil's dilating and it's sort of when Gloria's introducing him, that was the first shot that popped into my head after reading the script for the first time. It sort of symbolizes Kurd's ego, I feel, where he's really becoming the center of the frame. Like he sees himself as the center of the universe, and as all of these orchestra members walk past him, and all you see is the shadow. It's really just everybody else is just a shadow to him.
We really did try to imbue that kind of sense of thought into each frame, and I think we shot well over, I think there's maybe 150 shots plus in the movie. Yeah, especially in the concert scene. You know, there was probably 50 or 60 shots in that, and we only had 2 days to do it. A big thing for us on the day was obviously we want to get it all, and a big limitation of a short film is you just don't have infinite time, right? So that required meticulous planning, the craziest overheads I've ever done on anything, because ultimately on the day, the most important thing is performance, and we don't want everything else to get in the way of that. So we tried to be as meticulous as we could at that, so we could really streamline things.
Also, to expand on what Cole was saying, there were so many different, so the advantage of having such a long production time frame is that we were able to do a lot of different takes. And so I think the total was, it was around 600 to 700 shots filmed, and then 193 in the final film.
Yeah, I thought it was just great. I'm so proud of the way that this film looks and sounds. And, you know, the best compliment you can almost get from anybody watching a short film, and which I've received a number of times, is, I wish it was longer. I've had people text me and tell me, I wish we could have gotten more into this, or we could have gotten longer. And, you know, that speaks to, you know, this could have been a feature. It's so rich with story, and it really could have been. Cole, was that ever something that you had aspired to or have plans for? Because I'm available.
It was floated to me. This movie was originally longer, but I was encouraged by my teachers to cut it down, which is a little discouraging, because this is a story that I knew could be told within these 20 minutes. It's obviously not the full story. There's so much more to all these characters. And I think that's ultimately what you want from a short film, is just to have the same richness as a feature film, because otherwise, you know, for me, why are you even making it in the first place if you're not going to put the same level of effort into both?
Well, you're in trouble if people say they wish it was shorter, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
Everybody wishes it was longer.
Ruben, I have questions for you. This has been a very long process. You've been on this, I mean, since at least September, I believe, that's correct. But the first time you got the script, what was your first reaction to reading it?
Well, I shouldn't say surprised, but I was surprised at how strong it was. I come from California. I'd lived in Hollywood with my wife for 10 years. I acted in college in San Diego theater. I was a theater actor, and I'm a writer as well. When I came here, a lot of, you know, productions are happening because thesis projects, it's a film school, hello. And a lot of people would write parts for a judge or a lawyer or a, you know, Santa Claus or a grandfather, but then they'd get their 21-year-old, you know, friend to play the part. And my wife one day said, you know, my husband is available, you know, he can do some of these roles. And so I got to do one with your friend and my friend now, Emily. And based on that, you found me. And when the script came to me, I thought, wow, this is really something. For one, I got to be the main character, you know, instead of, you know, an uncle or, you know, some office guy, which is often the case with student films. You don't normally write a story with a middle-aged guy as the lead. So here was a great opportunity. So I was surprised not only by the depth of the story and the fact that it was a real story, which again adds a bit of responsibility. You want to get it right. But also, Cole, by your determination and dedication to this. Every time we met, whether it was at a coffee shop or in one of the classrooms, you would give me a new version of the script. Every time it's like, oh, here's a new one with something changed, something different. And it's not very common, by the way. You know, often the first script you get is it, and they don't even bother rewriting it. But I knew how important it was to you because of your attention to detail, and you were always on top of it. And, you know, the director sets the tone for everybody else. I firmly believe that everybody's quality of work was influenced by the fact that they not only wanted to please you, but that they knew that it was going to be something worthwhile because you were so invested in it. And when I saw that this was such an emotional piece, you could not have picked an actor who is less musical. And now you know that. I had no knowledge of any type of music. I had no knowledge of what this was going to be. But some of you know I am a magician. And I am a performer. I knew about the precision and the elegance and the potential that hands can serve in communicating. I've been a public speaker since I was a kid. I know how to use my hands. Boy, you could not tell from watching me conduct. You arranged for me to have an hour with a conductor of the Savannah Philharmonic, and that was such a blessing and a wonderful perk that as an actor you get to do this. It's like, you know, flying in a plane with a Top Gun pilot. And he spent time with me, and it was evident right away that, you know, I was like a toddler with Legos. You know, I didn't know what I was doing. I was a baboon with a popsicle, and he helped me, you know, with the right hand and then the left hand. And there's math involved. You know, you're talking 4/8 and 6/8 and fractions. And at one point, it got to the point where we knew we were going to have to pause during the Christmas break. And I said, okay, I'm going to immerse myself so that when we come back to do this orchestration scene, I'm going to be so ready. So for a couple of weeks, it was nothing but you know, listening to the piece over and over and over. I had it coming out of my ears. I said, I'm going to know this piece backward. And then I get in front of the camera and I look like I'm having a seizure. So at one point I had to pull Cole aside and say, Cole, at some point, you know, if they're watching my hands instead of this, then we failed. We've done something horribly wrong. You have to give me a break, because I am focusing so much on the hands that I feel like I might be neglecting something else. So let me please just get the emotion, and you cut around it. You know, you and Analise can fix it. And I don't know if it was just out of frustration or you agreed with me, but you said, yeah, go ahead, just do it. Now, unfortunately, and fortunately, I guess, but unfortunately, during that year, 2024, I had lost a number, 6 people who were very, very close to me in the span between April and September. I mean, it was literally during those months before I met you, I had lost my best friend and 5 other very important people. So I was an emotional wreck. And I remember telling you that at the beginning, saying, listen, this is going to be really emotional, and I hope you're ready for that. And you said yes. So, you know, the most challenging scene for me, obviously, was the actual piece, the conducting of the piece, and the professionalism of everybody on set who allowed me to just be in that moment. Everybody was so great. I was able to bring up that emotion from my own personal life, as actors do, and channel it through Kurd, you know, his mentality, in a way that I don't think I could have done this year or the year before last year. I am so proud of the over 20 productions I've done. This is the one that I want people to see. This is the one that I want to be on a calling card. And I'm hoping that, you know, people will see this, and it'll lead to bigger and better things for all of us. I think that we found a group of people that were so dedicated, and it's a testament to you, Cole, because you led us all, and you led us beautifully. You never lost your temper on set that I saw, and I could not believe the patience that you had in getting this done when I know that there were, problems, not enough extras showed up to be in the audience. Well, guess what? When you cut to the people in the rehearsal and there's only like 8 people there in the seats, people told me that was fantastic. They love the fact that when he bows, you can see that there are not people in the audience. Some people even imagined if it was in his head, if he was imagining all of this applause. So those happy accidents and the people who contributed to them, I think, made something that will never be repeated before or after. And I think that's something to be very proud of. And I'm happy that, we've gone way over time. But if you find it interesting, there's a lot of great little secrets and bits. And I would love to watch this with everybody in one room where we could pause it every couple seconds and say, who has something to say about this?
I really just want to thank our entire team for all of your work over, whether it be 2 years, whether it be 2 months. You've all had an incredible contribution to this project. I'm extremely excited to see where it goes next. We'll be submitting it to festivals. I hope it's been worth all of our time. I know everyone's put their entire hearts into it, and that's ultimately, as a director, all I can ask from all of you.
Thanks for spending this time with us. I think this is going to make a fantastic DVD extra. And I look forward to Refrain 2.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, great. Nice to see you all.